Hello everyone, we are from Group 2 and we will present the material related to the International Financial Management, which is short-term asset and liability management. In this material, there are three subchapters that will be discussed. The first one is international trade financing, the second one is short-term financing, and the last one is international cash management. Next, we discuss the first subchapter, which is international trade financing. The international trade activities of MNCs have grown in importance over time. This trend is attributable to the increased globalization of the world economies and the availability of trade finance from the international banking community. Although banks also finance domestic trade, their role in financing international trade is more critical due to the additional complication involved. First, the exporter might question the importer's ability to make payment. Second, even if the importer is creditworthy, the government might impose exchange controls that prevent payment to the exporter. Third, the importer might not trust the exporter to ship the goods ordered. Fourth, even if the exporter does ship the goods, trade barriers or time lags in international transportation might delay arrival time. Financial managers must recognize methods that they can use to finance international trade so that they can conduct exporting or importing in a manner that maximizes the value of an MNC. In any international trade transaction, credit is provided by either the supplier or exporter, the buyer or importer, one or more financial institution, or any combination of these. The supplier may have sufficient cash flow to finance the entire trade cycle, beginning with the production of the product until payment is eventually made by the buyer. This form of credit is known as supplier credit. In some cases, the exporter may require bank financing to augment its cash flow. On the other hand, the supplier may not desire to provide financing, in which case the buyer will have to finance the transaction itself, either internally or externally, through its banks. Banks on both sides of the transaction can thus play an integral role in trade financing. Here is a comparison table for each method of international trade financing in general. The first method is prepayment, in which the buyer pays before shipment and then receives the goods. There is no risk to the exporter, and the risk to the importer is entirely dependent on the exporter's ability to ship the goods as ordered. The second method is letter of credit, where payment is usually made when the shipment is made, and the buyers receive the goods after the payment. The risk to the exporter is very little or none, depending on the credit terms, and the risk to the importer is assured shipment made, but relies on the exporter to ship goods described in documents. The third method is side draft or documents against payment. The usual time of payment on the side draft method is on the presentation of the draft to the buyer, and then the buyer will get the goods after the payment. The risk to the exporter is that if the draft is unpaid, they must dispose of the goods, and the risk to the importer is some of the same as above unless the importer can inspect the goods before payment. The fourth method is time draft or documents against acceptance, where the usual time of payment is on the maturity of drafts and the buyers receive the goods before the payment. The risk to the exporter is realized on buyer to pay drafts and the risk to importer is sum as above. The fifth method is consignment, in which the buyer makes the payment at the time of sale and receives the goods before making the payment. The risk to the exporter is that it allows the importer to sell inventory before paying the exporter, and there is no risk to the importer. Instead, it increases the cash flow of the buyer. And the last method is an open account, in which the usual time of payment is as agreed, and the buyers will receive the goods prior to payment. The risk to the exporter is entirely dependent on the buyer paying the account as agreed, and there is no risk to the importer. The first method is prepayment. Prepayment is the settlement of a debt or part of a debt before its official due date. It can either be made for the entire balance or for an upcoming installment. But in any case, the payment is made in advance of the borrower's contractually obligated date. Under the prepayment method, the exporter will not ship the goods until the buyer has remitted payment to the exporter. Payment is usually made in the form of an international wire transfer to the exporter's bank account or foreign bank draft. As technology progresses, electronic commerce will allow firms engaged in international trade to make electronic credits and debits through an intermediary bank. This method affords the supplier the greatest degree of protection, and it's normally requested of first-time buyers whose creditworthiness is unknown or whose countries are in financial difficulty. Most buyers, however, are not willing to bear all the risks by preparing an order. Prepayment models are based on mathematical equations and usually involve the analysis of historical prepayment trends to predict what will happen in the future. And the currency used depend on the agreement. It can be the currency of the exporting or importing country. The second method is a letter of credit. A letter of credit is an instrument issued by a bank on behalf of the importer or buyer, promising to pay the exporter or beneficiary upon presentation of shipping documents in compliance with the terms stipulated therein. In effect, the bank is substituting its credit for that of the buyer. This method is a compromise between seller and buyer because it affords certain advantages to both parties. An important feature of an LC is that the issuing bank is obligated to honor drawings under the LC regardless of the buyer's ability or willingness to pay. On the other hand, the importer does not have to pay for the goods until shipment has been made and the documents are presented in good order. The types of letter of credit include a commercial letter of credit, revolving letter of credit, traveler's letter of credit, and confirmed letter of credit. The third method is a draft or bill of exchange. A draft is an unconditional promise drawn by one party, usually the exporter, instructing the buyer to pay the face amount of the draft upon presentation. The draft represents the exporter's formal demand for payment from the buyer. A draft affords the exporter less protection than an LC because the banks are not obligated to honor payments on the buyer's behalf. Most trade transactions handled on a draft basis are processed through banking channels. In banking terminology, these transactions are known as documentary collections. If shipment is made under a side draft, the exporter is paid once shipment has been made and the draft is presented to the buyer for payment. The buyer's bank will not release the shipping documents to the buyer until the buyer has paid the draft. This is known as document against payment. If a shipment is made under a time draft, the exporter instructs the buyer's bank to release the shipping documents against acceptance or signing of the draft. This method of payment is sometimes referred to as documents against acceptance. By accepting the draft, the buyer is promising to pay the exporter at the specified future date. This accepted draft is also known as a trade acceptance. The fourth method is consignment. Consignment is an arrangement in which goods are left in the possession of an authorized third party to sell. On a consignment arrangement, the exporter ships the goods to the importer while still retaining actual title to the merchandise. The importer has access to the inventory but doesn't have to pay for the goods until they have been sold to a third party. The exporter is trusting the importer to remit payment for the goods sold at that time. If the importer fails to pay, the exporter has limited recourse because no draft is involved. The goods have already been sold. As a result of the high risk, consignment are seldom used except by affiliated and subsidiary companies trading with the parent company. The last method is an open account. Open account is transaction is a sale where the goods are shipped and delivered before payment is due. Obviously, this option is the most advantageous for the importer in terms of cash flow and cost, but it's consequently the highest risk option for an exporter. The opposite of prepayment is the open account transaction in which the exporter ships the merchandise and expects the buyer to remit payment according to the agreed upon terms. The exporter is relying fully upon the financial creditworthiness, integrity, and reputation of the buyer. As might be expected, this method is used when the seller and buyer have mutual trust and a great deal of experience with each other. Despite the risk, open account transactions are widely utilized, particularly among the industrialized countries in North America and Europe.
The next topic is about short-term financing. All firms make short-term financing decisions periodically. Beyond the trade financing discussed in the previous chapter, MNCs obtain short-term financing to support other operations as well. Because MNCs have access to additional sources of funds, their short-term financing decisions are more complex than those of other companies. Financial managers must understand the possible advantage and disadvantage of short-term financing with foreign currencies so that they can make short-term financing decisions that maximize the value of the MNCs. Sources of short-term financing. MNC parents and their subsidiaries typically use various methods of obtaining short-term funds to satisfy their liquidity needs. There are three sources of short-term financing. The first one, short-term notes. They are negotiable debt instruments that are usually unsecured, but which may also be backed by assets such as securities or loans issued by a corporation. The second one is commercial paper. Commercial paper is an unsecured short-term debt instrument issued by corporation. It's typically used to finance short-term liabilities such as payroll, accounts payable, and inventories. The third one is bank loan. A bank may issue a guarantee as surety to a third party on behalf of one of its customers. If the customer fails to fulfill the relevant contractual obligation with the third party, that party can demand payment from the bank. Then the question is, why MNC consider foreign financing? An MNC may finance in a foreign currency to offset a net receivables position in that foreign currency. An MNC may also consider borrowing foreign currency when the interest rates on such currencies are attractive, so as to reduce financing costs. MNC's financing decision. There are various criteria an MNC must consider in its financing decision, including interest rate parity, the forward rate as a forecast, and exchange rate forecast. First, interest rate parity. If RRP holds, foreign financing with a simultaneous hedge of the position in the forward market will result in financing costs that are similar to those for domestic financing. IRP is the fundamental equation that governs the relationship between interest rates and currency exchange rates. The basic premise of RRP is that hedged returns from investing in a different currency should be the same regardless of their interest rates. Second, the forward rate as a forecast. If the forward rate is an unbiased predictor for Second, the forward rate as a forecast. If the forward rate is an unbiased predictor of the future spot rate, then the effective financing rate of a foreign loan will on average be equal to the domestic financing rate. Third is exchange rate forecast. Firms may use exchange rate forecast to forecast the effective financing rate of a foreign currency, or they may compute the break-even exchange rate that will equate the domestic and foreign financing rates. Sometimes, it may be useful to develop probability distributions instead of relying on single-point estimates. This strategy would have been successful on average if utilized in the past. It will be successful in the future if currency movement continue to move in one direction for a long period of time. Next, the portfolio diversification effects. If the chosen currencies are not highly positively correlated, they will not be likely to experience a high level of appreciation simultaneously. Thus, the chance that the portfolio effective financing rate will exceed the domestic financing rate is reduced. Next, repeated financing with a currency portfolio. A firm that repeatedly finances with a currency portfolio will normally prefer to compose a financing package that exhibits a somewhat predictable effective financing rate on a periodic basis. When comparing different financing packages, the variance can be used to measure how volatile a portfolio effective financing rate is. MNCs may use foreign financing to offset anticipated cash inflow in foreign currencies so that exposure to exchange rate risk will be minimized. Alternatively, some MNCs may use foreign financing in an attempt to reduce their financing costs. Foreign financing costs may be lower if the foreign interest rate is relatively low or if the foreign currency borrowed depreciates over the financing period. MNCs can determine whether to use foreign financing by estimating the effective financing rate for any foreign currency over the period in which financing will be needed. The expected effective financing rate is dependent on the quote interest rate of the foreign currency and the forecast percentage change in the currency's value over the financing period. When MNCs borrow a portfolio of currencies that have low interest rates, they can increase the probability of achieving relatively low financing costs if the currency values are not highly correlated.
The next topic is international cash management. The term cash management can be broadly defined to mean optimization of cash flow and investment of excess cash. From an international perspective, cash management is very complex because laws pertaining to cross-border cash transfers differ among countries. In addition, exchange rate fluctuations can affect the value of cross-border cash transfers. Financial managers need to understand the advantages and disadvantages of investing cash in foreign markets so that they can make international cash management decisions that maximize the value of the MNC. Its subsidiary of an MNC can assess its cash flow by estimating expected cash inflows and outflows to forecast its balance in each currency. This will indicate whether it will have excess cash to invest or a cash deficiency. The MNC's parent may prefer to use a centralized perspective, which consolidates the cash flow position of all subsidiaries. In this way, funds can be transferred among subsidiaries to accommodate a cash deficiency at particular subsidiaries. The centralized cash management. When an MNC uses centralized cash management, the parent can more easily monitor the cash position of the subsidiaries. This type of system can prevent managers of foreign subsidiaries from wasting excess funds to serve themselves because the system will detect funding deficiencies. In some cases, the deficiency in short-term funds may be attributed to reasons that are completely beyond the control of the subsidiary managers, such as a weak local economy that caused sales to decline.
The common techniques to optimize cash flows are accelerating cash inflows, minimizing currency conversion costs, managing block funds, and implementing inter-subsidiary cash transfers. The effort by MNCs to optimize cash flow are complicated by the company-related characteristics, the government restrictions, and the characteristics of banking systems. MNCs can possibly achieve higher returns when investing excess cash in foreign currencies that either have relatively high interest rates or may appreciate over the investment period. If the foreign currency depreciates over the investment period, however, this may offset any interest rate advantage of that currency.
Well, that's the material that we can convey in this presentation. Thank you for your attention. We apologize for our lack of presentation.